right, which is just as polarizing as an OnlyFans girl, why should he then not link hers as well? Just because you fucking disagree, right? Because you just disagree with that side of it. But that side of it hates our asses. They fucking hate us. So he's willing to put our bios in there too.
So he's against Christian nationalism? Or is he against the OnlyFans degenerate feminist ideologies?
Well, I'm not sure what his exact ideology is on this. It seems to be that there's a mixture.
He claims to be Christian.
Andrew Wilson destroys somebody who hates the Whatever podcast, and Andrew Wilson is debating a young man who proclaims to be a Christian and is also a hater of the Whatever podcast and what Andrew Wilson does on the podcast. Now, Andrew Wilson also, debates the young man who proclaims to be Christian, and basically the young man, he has an issue with the Whatever podcast being anti-Christ-like and everything, and how Christian men, young men, should go ahead and stay away from the Whatever podcast as well as the red pill community as a whole. So here is Andrew Wilson and a young man debating about why people should stay away from the red pill community and why it's bad. And Andrew Wilson is going to share his argument as well. So if you enjoy what's shared in this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Let's go ahead and get right into it.
Mostly be against the modernity of dating and prostitution, though he doesn't have as hard a line of a stance as I do, but he allows pushback for everybody, including the guests which are on his show. His third argument makes no sense to me at all. My opponent seems to think that ignoring this problem makes it go away, but it doesn't make it go away. Pushback and resistance make it go away. I think it's important we be present in all places the degens are to take on their worldviews. His final argument is that I need to attack or go after Brian. Though that doesn't make any sense either. Why would I destroy my opportunity to engage on the platform where I can reach hundreds of thousands of people with a better message? Not to mention, Brian brings up valid and interesting arguments, which I often agree with. We may not align 100%, but we don't need to, as reaching the audience is my objective, not reaching fucking Brian. He starts his claims as well by saying he's against feminist ideology, but I did go and review a debate that he had with Destiny where he claimed that feminism is an antidote to what he considers toxic patriarchy. I'm not sure that that's in line with any Christian worldview that I'm aware of, but I'm happy to take that topic on as well. Lastly, the only reason to go on the show is to go after the hosts he claims. That seems stupid to me. I think it would be far better to utilize the platform of the host in order to move a message to hundreds of thousands of people who you would not normally have access to. That's a far wiser strategy for spreading the message. And I'm assuming that we agree on a lot of this message, and so what we have is a differing of tactics. However, it's insane to me that he also wanted to go on the Whatever podcast himself, which is odd, I would assume, because he wants hundreds of thousands of people to hear his message as well. So with that, I'll yield the rest of my time, and I'm happy to get into this.
All right, RC, would you like to respond?
Well, we're just gonna go open from here. Yep, open dialogue from here. Go ahead, RC.
So to address, you brought up a number of points. To address your last point, I didn't shy away from the fact that I said, as a Christian, you can go on the podcast to call out what Red Pill is doing wrong. Yes, I did ask to go onto the Whatever podcast.
Yeah, what about the things that they're doing right? Can you agree with the things that they're doing right while simultaneously calling out the things that are wrong?
So, well, I'm addressing what you'd said, right? So in May of 2023, I did ask the Whatever podcast, and I DM'd Brian privately asking if I can go on the show so I can call out Red Pill. I was very clear with why my intention is to go onto the show. Mm-hmm. And Brian went on to block me because he said, I'm afraid to bring you on because you're going to speak disparagingly to the women, as though he doesn't do that with every episode, and every male guest he has on does the same thing. And he blocked me, which is very telling, because what are you afraid of?
Well, now hang on. Let's get into this first. So that's a Reader's Digest version, but my understanding from having read the DMs that you posted in the Discord was that you were being very agitating towards Brian. And if I was running a show and you were being agitating towards me while you were trying to come on my show, what do you think my reaction would be?
how am I agitating towards Brian when I said, I want to go on your show to call out Red Pill? If that's agitating to him, then that's very telling what his position is.
But what he said is that he wanted to have a more calm, collected conversation, and he was worried that your over-the-top approach would not be good for his platform. Now, it is his platform. We can agree that it's his platform, whether you like how it's run or not. It seems silly to me that you would be agitating towards this guy and then expect that he would have you on.
Now, the interesting thing about this whole thing with these two gentlemen is that this young man here who proclaimed to be a Christian, he basically speaking out against the red pill movement because of the fact that it's not that he believes that it's not sending on the message of Christ. Okay, granted, but at the same time, his uses of the language as well, such as patriarchy, for example. I mean, what kind of a Christian is he? Because it seems to me like he's not the biblical Christian. Okay, because when it comes to biblical Christianity, there's order. Christ is the head of the family, and who's the head of Christ? God. Let's go ahead and break down in this order. God is the head of all. And then there's Jesus, then it's the husband, then the wife, and then the children. So the thing is that if he's arguing against the so-called patriarchy and everything, then why in the world is he professed to be a Christian if it's that order? And in reality, if he's using the language patriarchy as the same way as the feminists do, it seems to me that he's not an actual, biblical sound Christian. I mean, I'm not sure if he's part of a denomination or not, but it seems to me like he's not necessarily consistent in what he's describing. Okay. And the fact of the matter is that you can speak out against feminism and stuff. And why not, do that in the red pill movement? I mean, the red pill movement isn't always about, finding not being with a woman, choosing not to be with a woman, but it's also about, being with some woman who's outside of the West. I mean, you can still have a family and stuff with a woman, but she's going to have to be outside the West. Okay. So yeah, that's the puzzling thing about this guy's argument, because of the simple fact of the matter is that he's also going against the owner of the whatever podcast, where he said he wants to speak out against the red pill movement. And he also stated what he was clear about and other things and stuff. And that's why the guy blocked him. So if anything, if you were going ahead and just speak disrespectfully and show your intentions to be disrespectful and stuff, then that shows right there that, you deserve to be blocked. And that's the reaction for anybody.
Right. So would you agree that this Red Pill podcast is advertising these OnlyFans women?
I don't think that they're specifically advertising them, but I think that they allow the OnlyFans women to advertise themselves, yes.
They're putting them they're using their sexually suggestive photos as the thumbnail to every video they put up. How is that not direct advertising?
Yeah, so that's how the women show up.
They ask and they use provocative images of those women. They don't have to use those images as the thumbnail to their video.
I mean, so what? That's what these women themselves, what they're showing. The best disinfectant is sunlight. So adding sunlight to what these women are, I think, is the best things you can possibly do, which would include
show their sexually suggestive content.
Would include these disgusting poses. Well, here's the thing. They go on the show looking like this. So why would the thumbnail somehow be worse than how they show up to the show?
Because you don't have to put that as a thumbnail. It's an intentional clickbait.
Yeah, you don't have to let them show up like that to the show, but they want to show up like that to the show. And the reason that they do is because they want to be as provocative as possible for attention. But I think that that's in many ways good for our side, because it shows a ray of sunlight on what's going on here, that women will dress this way in order to go into a live studio in order to promote this type of degeneracy. Again, I think the best disinfectant is sunlight.
But you don't promote them by advertising the picture as the thumbnail. You don't have to do that, and they intentionally do it to clickbait.
Well, let us assume for a moment that I just concede the point, and I say, you're right. They really shouldn't use the sexually provocative thumbnail. So what? It's not our platform. It's not your platform. It's not my platform. Our job is to provide necessary pushback to ideological worldviews that we disagree with. You would agree that that's true. If you're saying that this guy is running this as a business and making money, I don't disagree that he is doing so. And I don't disagree that people love controversy, and I don't disagree that part of that controversy can make people money. What I do disagree with is that whether or not this guy is advertising this from a thumbnail perspective, okay, in order to be as provocative as possible to get the most amount of views as possible, that also puts the most amount of views on my message.
So you also in the DMs mentioned that, sure, it's okay that he plugs their social media accounts in the bio of the video because that's the price to admission.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. This is what they're asking him to do. If he's willing to link a Christian nationalist bio down there, right, which is just as polarizing as an OnlyFans girl, why should he then not link hers as well? Just because you fucking disagree, right? Because you just disagree with that side of it. But that side of it hates our asses. They fucking hate us. So he's willing to put our bios in there too.
So he's against Christian nationalism? Or is he against the OnlyFans degenerate feminist ideologies?
Well, I'm not sure what his exact ideology is on this. It seems to be that there's a mixture.
He claims to be Christian.
Well, he doesn't really. He claims that he's not a practicing Christian.
Well, he's claimed to, well, then he does flip-flop a lot, but he has openly admitted that he said that he's Christian. But regardless.
Oh, what? There's people out there claiming to be Jewish and stuff, but they're not actual Jews and everything. There's people out there who claim to be Muslim, but they're not actual Muslims. And there's also people who out there who are Christian, but like Christ said in the scriptures, they honor me with their mouths, but their hearts are far from me. Okay? And now, the simple fact of the matter is this guy right here just states that, it's like the whatever podcast is simply, letting these girls dress provocatively, get these photos on the thumbnails and stuff. But Andrew Wilson is actually sharing how they're actually telling on themselves, how they're revealing themselves, how they're revealing how evil they are and everything. Not only by the way they dress, but also by the way they talk, the way they present themselves, and so on. And Andrew Wilson is actually hammering this home and everything, while this guy right here actually just go ahead and ignore his arguments and his points and stuff, try to hit back with different points. And yeah, Andrew Wilson starts using his arguments against him. Okay. So yeah, this is pretty interesting because it seems to me that this young man right here may not last in like debates and stuff with like when it comes to religion and faith. And quite frankly, I'm not sure. Like, I wonder, matter of fact, I got a question about him. Does his faith, his religious organization actually practice baptism for the forgiveness of sin? Do they practice that baptism is a part of salvation? Because I could have, like, me being a biblical Christian or try my best to be a practicing biblical Christian and everything, we actually teach Christ crucified, as well as the fact that baptism is essential to salvation. Okay, so even with Mark chapter 16 verse 16 says, "He who believes and is baptized shall be saved, but he who does not believe shall be condemned." And then there's also Acts chapter 2 verse 38. Where it also shows how, baptism is also essential on salvation, because Peter said, "Repent and be baptized, every one of you, for the forgiveness of your sins." Okay, so I wonder that if he's professing to be a Christian, then is he exactly living according to the New Testament? So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you may have on this particular topic. If you enjoyed what was shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.